What if clothes that don't look valuable, aren't big brands, and aren't even in good condition are actually selling for way more than you'd expect? A t-shirt full of holes selling for $100, or a pair of worn out work jeans going for $150. Even ugly sweaters selling for over $100 just because of how they look. These aren't rare finds or one-off sales. These are the kinds of items most people overlook or assume aren't worth selling at all. But that is totally wrong. Well, my name is LeeMeier. I've made over 100,000 selling used clothes, and I help other people stop second guessing and start making consistent sales. And what I've learned, it's not about finding better brands. It's about seeing what other people don't. So in this video, I'm going to show you the types of weird and ugly and completely overlooked items that are quietly selling for real money right now. And we're starting off with one of the biggest mindset shifts that can completely change what you pick up and what you stop leaving behind. The first item that I've got here for you, I did put in cat sweaters, but this really goes for any sort of niche type of item. And there can be a lot of money in anything that is novelty or anything that is unique. And I'm going to be sharing with you the specific items. You'll get to be able to see those a little bit closer, and really the uglier, the better. So this first one here, this is by a brand that's called Michael Simon. And this one, oh, like, look at this. It's got tails hanging off of the cats there. It's got this cat up here at the neck. This one went for $75. And then I've got another Michael Simon one here. This is probably even uglier. It's got all these cats down here at the bottom in stockings. You can see the fur there, some sequins, and this one went for, I believe, over $100, $129 for that one. And then I've got a couple other ugly cat sweaters to be able to show you here. This is one that went for $100. It's from a brand that's called Jane's Closet. But really with these, it's not necessarily about the name of the brand. There's that tag in case you were wondering what that looks like, but it's not really about the name of the brand. This is another ugly cat sweater here that's super colorful also. That one went for $150. And then another really kind of brightly colored color block, that one went for $189. This is a decent brand to pick up, by the way. It's a little sideways here. You might need to turn your head, but that one's called Storybook Knits, and it's from the Home Shopping Network. Next are denim jumpers. Now, what I'm sharing with you, I do have some price filters on for what I'm going to be sharing with you, just to be able to make this easier and see the items that you should be looking for that are actually worth more money. But a lot of my videos that I go through, if you've checked out my other Bolo playlists, I will link to up here those other videos. Most of those I don't have price filters on. But for these jumper dresses, these are denim, and there seems to be a really good market for these types of dresses. And what you're looking for with these, the maxi dresses do especially well. This is one here where it's got some embroidery on it. It's also a button front. It actually buttons all the way down. And again, with these, it doesn't really matter the brand name. That one happens to be Jane Ashley. I've actually never heard of that brand. This one is actually a decent brand. This is from Disney, the Disney catalog actually, which is interesting. And then this one happens to have, hey, real quick, if you haven't grabbed my free keywords list yet, you're going to want to do that. It's linked below this video. $8 right there. That's the sale price. And then I've got another one here to be able to show you. This one is actually a lot that was grouped together. It's a lot of 5 where the seller just, didn't want to deal with listing each one separately for whatever reason. And there's some of the tags there. The more common one that I have come across is this AMI one, or I think it's AMI, there's periods between there. There's also Stony Brook that you may come across. So again, it's not necessarily about the brands, and that lot of, I believe, 5 sold for $100. Next is a vintage Nike sweatshirt that I happened to come across. And this one, you can see the paint. I'm going to zoom in on that for you. There's white paint. There's also some holes in there. And this one sold for a ridiculous amount, given that it has those flaws. It actually sold for $60. By the way, this keyword right here, center swoosh, which it doesn't have, but they happen to use it. That keyword term is is really actually popular right now, and that just is for items where the swoosh is in the center. I think they used it for this one because that Nike logo is in the center. Next is a tapestry, any sort of tapestry items. So you got some boots there, some coats, some sweatshirts, some jean jackets, some bags. I'm going to show you these a little bit more closely, but for whatever reason, we got an interesting one here with rabbits on it. That one went for almost $77. But any sort of tapestry design like that, and you're going to see what that fabric actually looks like, because there is a certain look to that fabric. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you can kind of make out what that fabric is, and it is very woven. This one happens to be floral. This is a Laura Ashley bag, and that one went for $67. If you come across any tapestry bags like that, those will sell. This is another one that doesn't have that woven fabric. It just has that look to it, that pattern, and that one sold for $70 as well, and that one's from Fossil. And then as far as the clothing, here's a good example here, and this one, this company, it's actually called Sugar Street Weavers, and the tag is here for you to be able to see that. There's kind of a needle there in the center of that, but this is a vintage brand that's not around anymore, but they make a lot of really unique items. This one happens to have birdhouses on it. Some of their items have cats, some of them have horses, some of them are geared around golf, cars, so be on the lookout for that. Another popular brand when it comes to this tapestry is one that's called Painted Pony. And so this is a good example of one. And this one did sell for, let's see if I can pull that up. That one sold for $99 for that one. And then did I show the Sugar Street Weaver? Let me go back to that one. That one sold for $52, but it really does have to depend with how unique these are. This is another really interesting tapestry one, that eye there, like that huge eye staring at you. And this one is Dream of Threads. That's that label there. And that one went for $80. Next is a brand that is called Ripndip. And these can be really, really ugly. I have a few of these pulled up to be able to show you. But the takeaway here is that even if you don't come across this brand specifically, if you come across items like this, it can be really good money. So let me go ahead and show you the couple that I have pulled up here for you. This is one, I'm not sure if it's a bunny, what that is, the tongue sticking out there. And then next is another tie-dye one. Here's the Ripndip tag. That's what that looks like. And then I believe I have one more here for you. Interesting kind of mushroom, alien. I don't know what's going on there. But this one did sell for $60. I don't think I showed the sold prices on these. This tie-dye Ripndip, that one sold for $45. And then this other tie-dye with the bunny on it, that one went for $25. Next is vintage mumus. Now, a lot of these items that I'm sharing with you, other resellers I have physically seen touch, not even look at them, like touch them and throw them if they're shopping at the bins, not realizing what they are, not realizing that they can be really good money. For example, this one here, that one went for $110. Got another one over here, Mumu, that went for $85. And again, it's not necessarily about the brand. And a lot of these are made in Hawaii, so you may see that on the tag, but this is actually a really interesting run, but yellow and green. You gotta love that combination there. And that one did go for $60 for that one. And then I've got another Mumu here, again, very brightly colored. And the bigger sizes with these do a little bit better. This one went for $75 for that one. Next, I've got Liquid Blue. This is a t-shirt brand, and these can be very wild. They're also known for what's called all over print as well as tie-dye. So be on the lookout for these. I'm going to show you some close-ups as well as the tag if you have not seen these before, but these can sell for into the hundreds depending on what it is that it is. So for example, Grateful Dead, they do make items for that were geared around Grateful Dead. So the teddy bears here, tie-dye, this one did go for $180 because it was Grateful Dead. And then this one is a tiger t-shirt, that tiger on it. I believe that's the back right there. This one went for $72. And then I've got one here of this sun, and then here's that liquid blue tag. Let me see if I can zoom in on that for you. So it kind of has that triangle weird thing in the middle, and they are 100% cotton. They will say that on that. This one went for $120 for that one. Next, I've got a brand that's called Coogie. This is from Australia, and they're known for their super colorful sweaters, super chunky knit, kind of a 3D to them, and they are kind of a funky stripe to most of them, either vertical or horizontal as well. And so you'll see these. I'm going to go ahead and show you the Coogie one, but I'm also going to show you other similar styles. So you don't necessarily have to stick to just that brand. If it's got that look, then go ahead and research those, look up the comps, make sure before you go and invest any money. But there's the Coogie tag for you, and you can kind of see how wild this is. This one sold for $189. Depending on these styles, they can sell for $200-$300 even. And then this is an example of that similar kind of style, but this is kind of a no-name brand or a lesser common brand. So a good reminder that if you come across those other similar style items, go ahead and pick those up. So this one went for $90. I do see they use some keywords in here, Biggie and Grandpa. Got another one here of a different brand. This one's called Tundra Canada, but it is that same kind of Coogie style. This one went for $120. They did use a keyword here of Cosby, which is awesome.
Real quick, if you want to make consistent sales without this taking over your life, your time, your house, that's exactly what I built the Empowered Reseller membership around. Because this is not about hustling harder. It's about getting better at what actually sells. Inside of my membership, each month we deep dive into a proven clothing niche so that you can focus on the right items, the ones that move. That's how you build steady income without burnout. And you don't have to figure this out alone. You get a clear path, help when you need it, and a really supportive community to do this alongside with. If that sounds like something you'd like, then just click the first link in the description below this video, or you can go to empoweredreseller.com.
Next, I've got vintage baby tees. And these, a lot of them are what are called graphic tees, where it's got some kind of graphic on it. And there's some interesting ones in here that are selling. The first one that I've got for you to take a look at actually went for a ton of money. It does say love is, and then wishing on a star. And this one went for $265. That one had 31 bids on it for a t-shirt. Another one, here's another t-shirt. This is from a brand from the Y2K era that is called Paris Blues. By the way, if you are looking for other Y2K brands, I do have a video I will link to somewhere up here. You can go and check out other Y2K brands that are profitable to be sourcing and selling. So this t-shirt, it has this, I don't know, girl on a disco ball and platform shoes and flare leg jeans. That one went for $60. And then stripes are doing really well. Also, I do have some items pulled up here for you to just showcase stripes. And of course, big brands are doing well, such as Ralph Lauren, but also look for lesser known brands. This is one from the store Pennies, like the department store Towncraft. And this one's just kind of a basic t-shirt. Like it doesn't look like anything special, but that actually sold for $60. I've got another good example of a striped shirt. This is from the brand Hang 10. This one went for $73. And then another example of a striped shirt here. This is kind of a pullover men's shirt. And that one, again, not a huge, brand name, not any sort of brand that you're going to find on probably anybody's list. From the 909 is what it says collection. That one went for $55. So just be aware of those striped items. And if they're loud, if they're kind of clashing colors, those are selling really well. Next, I've got night shirts. Now, I specifically did pull up items that are men's night shirts. So there is a market for that. There's also a market for women's night shirts. Ignore the t-shirts that are popping up in here. But I have a couple of these types of items to be able to show you. So this first one is here, and it's just kind of this striped men's t-shirt or striped men's nightgown, I should say. And this one sold for $70 for that. And then I've got another one here. This is kind of a pink plaid, and this one sold for, I believe, $80 on that one there. Next is a vintage brand that's called Diane Gilman. I may be wrong in saying vintage. It may still be around. I did not double check myself, but there are a lot of vintage items, and the really loud and bright patterns are selling for a decent amount of money with these. I've got a few items to be able to show you. This first one is this lion shirt, and it has got that big lion on the front of it, and that one sold for $50. It is 100% silk, so that definitely helps there in the pricing. This next Diane Gilman, this one has horses all over it. Looks like some sequins on it. This one sold for $50. And this is a good reminder here, whether it's Diane Gilman or other brands that you come across, if they are geared around a specific theme of something people collect, whether it's somebody who's collecting horses, or somebody who's collecting more of a jungle look like this one. It has this, I'm not sure, cheetah, leopard. I can't ever tell those animals apart, but this is a pretty wild one here. It looks like it does have the sequins on it again. And this one did go for $93 for that one. Next is another Diane Gilman, another one of these spotted animals, fast cheetah, leopard. Somebody help me out here. And that one went for $69. Next, I've got kids alpaca zips is what I put in for the title. You may have seen these around, but these can sell for a decent amount of money. They are made from alpaca, and they do have some really unique designs. Some people might think they're cute, and they are kind of cute. So, other people might think they're, so it's all in really your opinion. I don't mean to offend anybody here, but this is kind of what these sweaters look like. And these are selling for a decent amount of money, given that they're kids items, which generally sell for less. If you're looking for other kids items to be selling, brands to be selling, I will link up here to a kids brand video that you're going to love. Next, this one sold for $35. And I do have one more here for you. This has that pointy hood. It does have some unicorns on it here, and these are very kind of 3D stuffed off of the fabric. That one went for $34. Next is a brand that is called Ragz, and these make some really interesting items. These pullover style. There's also zip up style. But this is kind of the look. There's striped ones as well as ones that have more of an Aztec print. There's also some here that have, say, a moose on them. There's another moose one there, one with a snowflake kind of design. So they do have some interesting designs, and those designs are going to sell for a little bit more. This one happens to have horses on it. You can see the horses there. And this one did sell for $36. By the way, I did have a item that was identical to this that I did sell for a consignment client. If you're interested in selling through consignment, that can be a really good way to get profitable items. I will leave a link product card over here for the consignment starter kit. And then this is another one of those Ragz. This is more of a tribal design, tribal pattern. I do have the tag here for you to be able to show you. This one went for $75. So that's what the Ragz tag looks like. And then I've got one more Ragz to be able to show you here, another kind of Aztec tribal. That one went for $74. Next is a brand that's called Berek Marta. I think I'm saying that one correctly. But this one makes a lot of really interesting sweaters. Again, if they're geared around certain things, I'm seeing one here. That one for soccer, that one went for $46. But there's all kinds of different themes, and anything that has a theme to it, that is probably going to be a good indication that there's money there, because somebody is looking for that. Somebody likes that. They collect those types of things, whatever reason that is. This one doesn't necessarily have a theme to it, so probably not the best example, but it does have those bows on there, which is really interesting. That one went for $70 for that one. And then I've got one here. This is a nautical theme, so that can be another really good one. It's got that ship there. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's a ship. It looks like some flags there on the sleeve. And then then there's what that tag looks like. This one went for $150 there. And then I've got another one to be able to show you, pansies. This one definitely, at least in my book, falls under the ugly category. That one went for $62 for that. So again, not necessarily go after the brand, but for the style, if you come across other items that are like this, go ahead and do the research, make sure it's a decent item, but pretty good chance that it will be. So this is an interesting one with camels. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. It kind of looks like a circus until I see the camels in the air up there. So I'm not sure on that one, but this one did sell for $70 for that one. And then this is a brand that's called Blair, and they do make a lot of interesting items. There are fleece that you're going to be on the lookout for. There is, tapestry jackets as well, which we talked about earlier, but they do make a variety of items. Let's see what other types of items they've got in here. Button ups or something else that you're going to be able to come across. And then here is actually a button up shirt here. I've got that plaid, and then it has embroidered flowers there on the front. And this one did sell for $27 for that. So if you could pick it up for $1 or $2, probably worth your time. This one is a fleece. So these fleece are really pretty popular. And if you come across these, they can be good money. This one is a small, but I do find that if you find these in 2X or 3X, those are going to sell for a little bit more. So this one happens to have wolves on it, is what it looks like. And that one sold for almost $46 for that one. And then I've got one here. This is another fleece. It's got penguins down here at the bottom. It's got some baby penguins there. It looks kind of a Christmas theme, snowflakes. There's that Blair tag for you. That one's a 3XL, and that one sold for $45. And then I've got one of those tapestry jackets here, which is also cat themed. And this one, there's the tag there for you. So that's a little bit different variation on the tag where that font is more of a script. That one sold for $89 for that jacket.
So now you've seen how things that don't look valuable still sell, even for crazy amounts. But this next one takes it even further, because these are the items that most people just skip. They literally throw them away, and they're still selling.
Sun faded items in addition to paint. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see just how much paint is over the bottom of that t-shirt. There's even maybe like a bleach stain there on this t-shirt. Here's what the back looks like. That's sun faded, but not quite so much paint as the front has. And it is from Mexico, so it's got that fish there. But with these aren't necessarily about the brand. You're going to see some brands repeating over and over again in this video. There is what that brand tag looks like. That one is sold for $45 in that condition that you may have otherwise passed over, or even have thrown away in your garbage can. This next item is a button up a snap shirt from Wrangler. So there is the tag there. Definitely a vintage item with this one. This one is not quite in throwaway condition, but it does have several flaws. So here you're seeing a seam gap there at the pocket where that thread is coming loose. Across the pocket is that W where that is coming loose. This one also does have some paint and stains, as well as some holes starting there. There's another hole in the arm sleeve there. Some bleach spots, it looks like, on the back of that shirt. That one sold for $50 in that condition. Here is a sweatshirt. So let me go ahead and show you some of the pictures on these. So it's got some bleach spots. It's got a little hole there in the sleeve. It's got some large bleach stains down the body of this sweatshirt. And there's the tag there. So definitely a vintage tag, but that one sold for $55. This is a jacket. I'm going to show you what this looks like, but I wanted to show the tag first there. But this is a suede jacket. Now, it doesn't look too bad from this picture, but actually that arm has a ton of bleaching, a ton of fading along the whole length of that arm. There's a little bit closer look there for you. That sold for $78 using that keyword thrashed. Here's Hanes beefy t-shirt. Now wait till you see this one. With this one is a feral cat coalition, and you can see across the front here that there's all kinds of stains. There's also a large hole. Here's a couple little smaller holes up there. Here's what this looks like. So it's got a cat there on the front. You can also see that it's got heavy bleaching under the arms. The back here, it says homeless and stray, and then neuter and spay, and then a phone number to call. This t-shirt sold for $45. We got a pair of Carhartt jeans here. This is a brand that you're going to see repeating over and over again when it comes to this thrashed condition. I'm not going to be showing the tags on it for every Carhartt item, but look at this one. This one, those double knees are actually pulling away here, the top of where that double knee starts. It's got holes in the crotch of all places. It's got fraying down here at the cuffs. There's that tag picture real quick there for you. Those sold for $150. This is another Carhartt item. This is a jacket where there is heavy fraying on that sleeve. This one also, by the way, does have a logo here on it. Don't worry about those logos. Those mean literally nothing. It's got few stains here at the back of the shoulder as well as another hole. This one is actually not in too bad of condition. That one sold for $150. This next item is another t-shirt that has paint all over it. From Gildan, it is a 2XL. You're seeing some fraying as well as some small holes there, the neckline. There is that t-shirt with the paint on it, as well as some small holes and some other stains. And this is from, believe Wilco Marine is what it says there on the front as well as the back. That one sold for $70 using that thrashed keyword. This is another Carhartt item. This one is in very poor condition. You're seeing there this large hole that's worn through the zipper. Here's another hole in the shoulder area there. There's what the sleeves look like. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit there for you. So that sleeve is almost all the way worn through, as well as that other sleeve. And this jacket in that condition sold for $100. This next one is actually a Polo Ralph Lauren. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit better view of that tag there. It's at the bottom of your screen here, Polo by Ralph Lauren. You can see that it's completely worn all the way through the hood, the lining in that hood. There are some holes there around the edge of that jacket. This one also has heavy paint stains as well as maybe sun fading or bleach marks there down the front of the jacket. There's a better look at those sleeves. This one in that condition sold for $120. Got a Gildan t-shirt here for you. This is an extra large. Zoom in on that tag. It is a made in Mexico item. So this isn't, a made in USA item or anything like that. Here's what that looks like. It's got a large hole up there at the collar of the neck. It's got some stains here. It's got some small holes in it. There's what that looks like. Oh, and sold for $100. I do want to quickly point out a couple of the keywords. So they did use sun faded as well as gradient. So you're going to see that in a lot of the items that are selling, as well as this keyword of paper thin. So just wait till you see some of the other items that are using that paper thin keyword. This is a overall from a brand that is called Pointer brand. This is a vintage item. This one has a lot of staining throughout the leg. So I wanted to show this one because it's not just Carhartt items that are selling in this condition. So there is that Pointer brand tag that is a made in the USA brand. That one sold for $49. This is a liquid blue t-shirt. So there's the tag there. If you have not seen liquid blue, that is a very prominent, very profitable brand when it comes to vintage items. But this t-shirt, it looks like this has not been natural thrashing or wearing, but it looks like somebody's actually cut into this one. So I do want to make that distinction here. So you can see there at the shoulder, there's a little bit more at the shoulder, and you can see there across the back of the item, all of the holes. You can see that that big U is cut into the shape of the neck there. That one sold for $40. This next item is a pair of jeans, and this one has a lot of holes and patchwork. You can't see them all here. You can kind of make them out a little bit, but I'll show you a better picture of just how many holes are in this pair of jeans. They actually do have a picture of the inside of the jeans where you can see those patches. This is at the cuff of the jeans. You can see that there is a large hole worn through. There's another one in the other cuff. So both cuffs do have that heavy wear, but here are those patches. So the picture, is from the inside of the jeans. They were turned inside out, so that those patches could be better seen. You're even seeing a hole right there at the crotch of those jeans. These are a Levi's orange tab jean. By the way, there are lots of these selling in this condition. This one sold for $85. Now, this next item, this is another Carhartt with heavy wear, heavy grease stains. You're seeing all of the stains there, all of the fraying. That one sold for $175. Real quick, I want to mention my style keyword poster because it specifically covers aesthetic-based keywords, just like this Thrashed keyword you're seeing, along with 79 other keywords that buyers are out there searching for. This next is a t-shirt from Russell Athletics, so that's definitely a vintage tag that you are seeing there, but this one is in awful condition. Here on the back, it says Larry, and it looks like they were in rainbow colors, and those have worn off. You can see those huge holes in the armpits there, as well as in those sleeves. This one also has a ton of staining, as well as some holes in the body of this. And this is actually Kawasaki. Most of those letters are worn off there. That one sold for $75. I want to do mention that these are sold items. These are not just listed items. And I have hand selected items where a best offer was not accepted. If a best offer was accepted, I will point that out. And that will say here there will be a strike through that price when a best offer is accepted. It will also say best offer accepted. So know that these are the actual prices that these items are selling for. This is a pair of Carhartt jeans here. I had to show these because these are completely worn through in those double knees. So you may come across Carhartt like this and see that the knees are worn out and go, okay, I'm going to pass that, not worth it. That one sold for $75. And this isn't just like one or two items selling. There are tons selling in this condition. This one actually had 3 bids on it. Unfortunately, they only have one. Let's take more than one photo. This is worn through completely in that sleeve. There's paint on the sleeve, bleaching on the sleeve, fading on the sleeves. That one had 3 bids. One went for $42. So if you could pick that up for a couple dollars, maybe somebody's even throwing it away at a garage sale. $40 in your pocket for garbage. This one, this is another t-shirt. This is actually cut off where they cut off the sleeves. And this is from, I believe, a band called Converge, but I'm zooming in here so you can see all of those holes. So you can see those stainings, so you can see that bleaching there. There's the back of the shirt. There's what the front of the shirt looks like. But that one sold for $100. And there's tons of different band tees that are selling for a ton of money in this condition. So do not be afraid to pick these items that are garbage. This is a brand, I believe that this is called Allure. So there's is the tag zoomed in there for you. It's nothing special. This is not a band tee. This is not any sort of big name. There's no, nothing on this. But this one has a ton of stains on it, as well as blue. I'm assuming that must be paint. So there's some more of those blue markings there on this. There's the back of that shirt. That t-shirt in that condition sold for $43. Got a pair of Levi's silver tap shorts here for you. These are not too bad. The back isn't too bad. Most of the wear there is on the leg of the jeans. So you can see there at the center of each leg how much that's worn, especially that left leg that is very, very worn off almost. That one sold for $42. This next item is one of those paper thin t-shirts that I mentioned a little bit ago. And this one also has a lot of holes in it. It's got that sleeve there, most completely ripped off. It's got a hole there, a couple of holes there at the neckline, as well as holes there at the back of the neck. That one, you see the price on this one? This one's over $135. I want to quickly point out some of these other keywords. We're using zombie, as well as super thrashed, and again, that paper thin, as well as blank, because there is nothing else on that t-shirt. This one, this is a no fear item. It says, what are you, a man or a mouse? There is the back of the item. You're seeing some holes there up at that collar. Hopefully you saw the holes here in that photo. Here's the front of the item. There's a couple of small holes here where it says no fear. That one sold for $45. Got a sweatshirt here for you. This is at the center of the sweatshirt, at the front of the sweatshirt. Hopefully you can see that hole there, how big it is, as well as that paint. There they put their fingers in there so you can get a little bit better glimpse of just how big that hole is. There it is at the center of that sweatshirt. That one sold for $45. Got another destroyed Levi's jacket here. The sleeve is completely worn away. You're looking at the lining of that jacket. It looks to be a blanket lining, as well as this is completely, it's just shredded. I don't even know if thrashed is the right word for this one. There is the back of that jacket. It does look like dirt stains as well. That one sold for $55. Got another Carhartt item. There are lots of these, by the way, in this cream colored or whitish off-white color that are selling that have a lot of staining. So if you come across these items that are dirty, do not be afraid to pick them up. Here you're seeing a lot of fraying there at the bottom of the jacket, in addition to that just kind of overall dirtiness and stains. There's the back of the vest with a few stains there as well. That one sold for $60. Now they did put the condition as fair, so make sure that you mark that, especially on eBay, especially since eBay has updated their item conditions. Make sure that you put that as, in the poorest condition that you can, because you don't want to get in trouble for over promising on these items. But really, people are after this look. They're after the stains. They're after the tears. They're after the holes. This is a Bob Dylan t-shirt, and with this one has just some overall bleaching to it. You can see a little bit better on this bigger picture, the bleaching here, bleaching on the sleeves, bleaching up here along that neckline. That one sold for $40. This next one is another Carhartt that is in really bad condition. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on that kangaroo pocket there for you. But you can see that that is pretty much gone. It's pretty much pointless at that point to even have a pocket there. You can see those sleeves there. Like half of the sleeve is about to come off. This one, a best offer was accepted. It was listed at $90, but I did go ahead and look that up for you. Let me move my face there. That is that same exact item. That one sold for $55 plus shipping. This next one is another t-shirt, and you can see how the neck is almost coming off there on both the front and the back. It says Demon something marching band there on it. This one is a Champion t-shirt, by the way. So there is the tag there for you. That one sold for $90. So you're seeing thrashed as well as distressed there in the title of that item. This one is another Pointer brand item, again, a made in the USA vintage brand. This one is a hickory stripe jacket. And check out the arms on these, the sleeves on those. So that sleeve has that hole. Over here on that sleeve, pretty much half of that lower sleeve is gone. That one sold for $70. This next one is a t-shirt by a brand that is called Tribal. This is definitely a Y2K look for this item. You're seeing a hole there as well as there, as well as some wear there along the edge of that hood. This one's not in too bad of condition. We've definitely seen worse with this one. It does look like there's some wear there, some holes there on that sleeve, but that one sold for $100. This next one is a Ozfest t-shirt. This one definitely has some sun fading going on it. There on the back is where it says Ozfest. And you can see a little bit more of the sun fading there, as well as that has some holes. There is the brand tag. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that one. It says T America. That one sold for $100. Now you're seeing some of these say out of stock. instead of the sold, but that is a sold item. But you don't have to be dependent just on Banties. This is actually an Elmo t-shirt. So you're seeing Elmo there on the front of this. You're also seeing some stains. I'm not sure if those are paint. You're seeing holes there at the top of the shoulder, a hole there at the armpit. There's that hole again at the top of the shoulder. And so this t-shirt sold for $40 for that condition. That one in even worse condition, but this is a unique design where this is actually a double layer. So you're seeing blue and then yellow underneath. You're seeing stains. Like, check out those stains at the bottom of that t-shirt. There's some more there for you. This one looks like a dog, like maybe bit off that sleeve there, right? That one sold for $50 for that condition. Got a pair of Abercrombie and Fitch cargo shorts. With this one, these are not too bad, but they do have some wearing through there. They also have some holes there at the pocket as well as the corners of those cargo pockets there. Got maybe a little bit of a stain here as well as some more of those wear holes. Those sold for $45. This next one is a Green Day t-shirt. There's the front of it. There's the back side of that t-shirt. That one sold for $150. So definitely be on the lookout for these thrashed items when it comes to these band tees. With this one, this is a Lee jacket that somebody actually added a bunch of patches to. This one does have some wear around the neck of that jacket. So you're seeing how that top layer of the denim is completely worn through. There's a little bit of wear here at one of the sleeves, but overall this jacket isn't in too bad of condition, but that one sold for $100. Got another pair of Carhartt double knee jeans with these. They don't have too many stains or holes, but they do have that bleaching and that fading. With this one, it was listed for $100, but a best offer was accepted, and I did go ahead and look that up for you. That one sold for $85 for that item. Now, this is a pair of Dickies. I know that we've looked at a lot of Carhartt jeans, but this is Dickies, obviously used by a painter. Check out the back of that where they've been wiping their hands. All different kinds of paint colors there, by the way. And the front of those jeans, those ones sold for $45 in that condition. If you know some painters, you know you have some money on your hands. Speaking of paint, check out these Carhartt overalls. I believe that these were actually cut off. I don't believe that Carhartt actually makes shorts like these. Again, heavy paint on those. They were painting with white, it looks like. Those sold for $150. Got another pair of Carhartt item jeans here, double knee jeans, where those are completely worn through that double knee. You're seeing even up there at the hip that is almost completely all the way worn through. Those sold for $43. Now, Carhartt's a really solid brand. If you're interested in other really solid men's brands, you're going to want to check out my Big Money Brands men's guide. I'm going to link to that over there for you. Got another Carhartt item. I did mention these lighter colored or off-white, now kind of dingy brown, but these are selling. You can see all of that paint, some paint sprinkles it looks like there on the sleeve of the jacket. Along the bottom of that jacket, there's heavy fraying as well as at those sleeve cuffs. That one sold for $60. Got another Carhartt item. I had to show this one. This has got some holes there. It's also got a large stain at the center of the jacket. I'm not sure if that's a cigar. I'm not sure what did that. Also, the sleeves on this one are really in bad condition. So we got one sleeve there. There was another sleeve over on this side where that is worn probably about halfway around that sleeve about to come off. That one had one bid on it, by the way. So there is that one bid. That one sold for $60. This next item is a Budweiser t-shirt. This one has heavy fading. You can't see a whole lot anymore on this jacket or on this t-shirt. Here's some of the stains there at the bottom of that. Very, very just kind of dingy looking t-shirt. That one sold for $59. This one is from Camel Cigarette Company. It says the hard pack. So there is the front of that shirt. You're seeing maybe some paint stains there across the front. There's a couple more views of that. And then there is the back of that t-shirt, what that looks like. Again, there are those paint stains. That one sold for $65. Got a Betty Boop t-shirt here. This one's got holes in it. It's got stains. Got some more holes there. And that one sold for $50 using that Thrashed keyword. Here's another one of those blank t-shirts, paper thin. And with this one has a ton of staining just all over, just kind of dirty, right? You look at that and you just think dirty. You probably think that needs to be thrown in the trash can, but the seller decided to list it. Here is the top of the shoulder. There's the sleeve. You could see, just how dirty that is. That one sold for $40. Now that one is a vintage. It's approximately from the 60s. So you do need to keep that in mind with these. You can't just take a brand new t-shirt, destroy it, and then it's going to sell for a lot of money. This is a sweatshirt. And this was actually a reverse weave. So let me go ahead and zoom in on that reverse weave. So you can see that the ribbing of that runs this way instead of the typical up and down on the body of that sweatshirt. But you're seeing there at the bottom that one has a lot of staining there. You're seeing here at the center, you're seeing some holes at the neck. Let me see if I can get a better picture of that neck there for you. So you can see how heavily worn that is there at the collar of the neck. This sweatshirt from Champion, this one sold for $60. Again, this is one of their reverse weave sweatshirts. Got another Carhartt jacket here for you. This is actually a pretty good angle to be able to see what is going on here. So this one actually has the entire kangaroo pocket ripped off here. You're seeing the kind of remnants of where it was originally sewn on. You're seeing some holes there on the sleeve. Check out the cuff of that, where that is completely, almost worn all the way through. Just heavy, heavy fraying on those sleeve cuffs. That one sold for $75, by the way. This one is another t-shirt. This is from the band Creed. With this one, there is bleach stains on it as well as holes. You're looking at the armpit there. It's also got some little holes across the front of that item. That one sold for $70. This next one is another one of those paper thin t-shirts. This is from the brand Jockey, so definitely a vintage tag when you're looking at that there. Got you zoomed in on the tag, so hopefully you saw that. This one has some little holes all over it. It's got a few stains there. It's got some stains there at the top of the shoulder, top of the sleeve. That one sold for $125.
At this point, you might be starting to realize it's not about the brand. It's not even about the condition. So next, I want to show you items that don't make sense on paper, but consistently sell anyways.
No Boundary branded items. This is the brand that is sold at Walmart. And so I went ahead and pulled up all of the search results from this brand. There's actually about 4,500. I did not filter down specifically to that brand, so there may be some other items mixed in there, just a caveat caution there. But there's lots of different items that are selling from No Boundaries. I've got a few items to be able to show you here, but you're seeing shoes. These Rush Limbaugh ties look apparently pretty popular. Another pair of shoes there, t-shirts, hoodies. Got a t-shirt, another t-shirt there. We're going to look at that here in a second. Here are some of the hoodies that are selling. And so they have a certain look to them. That's why they're selling a certain style to these hoodies. It looks like they have some skull graphics on them, some sort of tribally designs there. That hoodie from No Boundaries, aka Walmart, went for $100. Got a pair of pants here. This is again No Boundaries. This is very similar to that Jinko style wide leg with embroidery. You see a skateboard there on the back pocket. That pair of jeans sold for $70, again from that No Boundaries brand. Have another hoodie here, a little bit different style. It does again have that skull pattern on it. That one went for almost $50. And then a pair of pants here. This is a really unique one, but flames were really big in the Y2K, which is a lot of the items that are trending right now are Y2K. I will link up here to a video that has other Y2K trends to be on the lookout for that are selling for a shocking amount. So you want to make sure to watch that video. I will link to up there. This pair of pants, that one sold for $55, again from the No Boundaries Tapestry's brand. And then the next one, this is a really unique, actually upcycled item. It's got some crochet lace there around the pockets, some patchwork, some flaring around the bottom of those jeans. And this is a no boundaries pair of jeans that's been upcycled. That one actually sold for $45. The next item type that I have for you that is a little bit more on the unusual side, maybe not what you're expecting, are kids' old TV shows. And so a lot of times you might think of Disney, but there's so many other TV shows that were really popular. And now parents who grew up watching those shows are wanting to buy these for their kids. One of these is Blue's Clues. So this is a pair of overalls here. You can see the embroidery on there. There's that Blue's Clues tag there. This one actually went for $120 on eBay for those overalls. Barney is another, big seller when it comes to TV shows. This happens to be a windbreaker set of a top and bottom. That one sold for $100. And then Arthur, this is a PBS show. This t-shirt, this is a size 4, that went for almost $115. And then Clifford. So Clifford right now is huge. And for whatever reason, people are paying hundreds of dollars for any sort of Clifford items. And this pair of overalls, you can see there were 34 bids on it. That went for $410. Now, Poshmark doesn't seem to have as big of trend when it comes to these kid items. And this is one example from Poshmark that I was able to pull up from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Again, another extremely popular TV show that is trending. I don't know if it ever went away, but this one, just a basic white t-shirt, that one sold for $50. And then the next unusual item type are items from Kmart. So I did just type in Kmart, nothing else here, and it came back with about 340 results. So there's not gobs out there. So there's lots of different items. You're going to see hats. You're going to see shirts. So here's an employee shirt. That one sold for $85 for a store that's basically no longer in existence. I think as of this filming, they're maybe down to one store in Guam, which I actually have been to. Fun fact. But there's lots of different items in here that you're seeing selling. I have a few to be able to share here with you. This one is just a, button-up shirt. They did use some pretty good keywords on this, like disco. That one sold for $40. Let me see if I can get a little bit better picture of the tag there for you. So that's that tag. Next item, this is another button up that's a long sleeve denim. It has a few flaws there. There's that tag again, and it does say made in Hong Kong. So these are not necessarily made in the USA. That one sold for almost $47. Another pair of these kind of wide leg jeans. There's what the back of that looks like. Got some kind of racing stripes down the back of those, which are big from the Y2K era. You're seeing those oversized pockets that are similar to maybe Jinko jeans that you've seen before. And that pair went for $32. Pair is actually from a brand that was sold by Kmart, Bleached items. And there are so many that are selling. There's a few on eBay, but we're also going to be looking at some on Poshmark. On Poshmark, there are a ton. So I came back with about 34 different items. On eBay, Poshmark has a lot more than that. But a couple of the items to be looking for, these are definitely unique, one-of-a-kind items that have been designed this way. For example, that photo on the back, this one actually, let me go ahead and show you what the tag is, because this is where it gets really surprising. This is George, again, another Walmart brand. And this one actually sold for $36. I got another Carhartt here that has a few bleach stains. You can see some here on the front, and that hoodie went for $28 with that bleach. Now over on Poshmark, there are a ton of bleached items selling, both Carhartt as well as other brands. And this is an example of a jacket that's got all over bleaching all across the whole entire thing. This one sold for $200. Pair of overalls here, black, and so that bleach is then orange, kind of ugly in my opinion. That one sold for $150. Another black jacket that has that orange bleaching, that one sold for $108. Another custom bleach job. This one sold for $100. And then this one is not really designed that way. It looks more like an accident of bleach there at that bottom corner and a little bit up into the center. Let me see if I can get a little bit better glimpse of that. So you can see that bleach there, some holes there. That one sold for $50. Now, the next unusual item type to be looking for, and this falls under clothing related items, these are fobs for purses or charms. And so some of these can sell for quite a lot. A lot of it may depend on the brand. You're seeing Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, a lot of, big name brands in here, but I do have some more sold here for you that are, maybe a little bit lower on the lower end of things that aren't thousands of dollars. The tab that we were looking at over here, we're talking hundreds, $800 to, $1,200 for some of these. And so it can really go to show that some of these little charms can be more than the bag itself, depending on how much you're able to source this for. Got an example here. This is actually from a case display for Coach. That one sold for $500. But there's other ones like this, just a letter N, that is Coach, but that one still sold for $40. These little Prada bears can sell for quite a lot too. That one sold for $60. Here's another little bear there, sold for $346. So keep your eye out for those little charm tags or fobs. And there's, a lot of different styles that are out there that people are looking for. So this, for example, that's a turn lock from Coach. And that one sold for almost $50. The next unusual item to be looking for are tank tops. And so with these tank tops, there's several different styles that are selling, but they are very close fitting is what I would call them. And then lace trim. And with this one's actually, that one's actually, let me go ahead and close that one out. That one's actually $53 from Abercrombie and Fitch. Another reason that it is selling is they did use the Bella Swan keyword, which is a high ticket keyword. If you're looking for more high profit keywords like that, then you're going to want to check out my keyword guide, where I share more high profit keywords that are escalating the prices of items, and some more tank tops that are selling over here on Poshmark. This is actually an unbranded. Somebody actually asked on this if there's, hi, what is the brand? Apparently didn't matter. This still sold for $100. You can see it's a knit tank top, no tag on that, $100. Beaded tank tops are really big right now too. And this one, just a halter, very small, lightweight. It's actually a brand that's called Eye Candy. I'll see if I can get in on that tag a little bit better there for you. And that one sold for $125. This one is shocking. The brand Charlotte Russe. I think I'm saying that right. The mall brand. $336 for that. I know you've seen that tag before. Most resellers, just pass this over because it's kind of a very low dollar brand, not usually worth selling. If you're looking for other mall brands that are selling for a lot of money like this, then you're going to want to check out a video I will link to up here where I went through a ton of different mall brands to be on the lookout for. This one, I have no idea why somebody paid $300+ for that, but it is what it is. Another Charlotte Russe here. This one went for $45, a little bit more reasonably priced. A lot of beadwork on that tank top. Again, no name brand. Another kind of no name brand, Wet Seal, or low dollar value brand, Wet Seal. This tank top went for $55. The next item type that I've got for you are crocheted items. Crochet is trending really big right now, and especially granny squares. And so this poncho, it's got, kind of that 70s vibe to it. That sold for $35. It's just handmade, no particular brand. Got another granny square sweater here. That one went for $69 with one bid. While you're looking for, soft textiles, especially if you're shopping the bins, it's easy to come across this, bedding, blankets, not technically, it's not clothing, but, it's there along with the clothing a lot of the times. And this, quilt or, bedspread. That one went for $68. Got another crochet cardigan here. This is not what I would call a granny square pattern, but still that crochet. That one went for $70. And then you're seeing this trend pop up in a lot of mainstream brands like Zara, Urban Outfitters. This is actually Zara. Anthropology is another brand where this granny square trend is popping in. That pair of shorts from Zara sold for $30. Got another blanket here with granny squares. This one sold for $105. Another cardigan here. This is more of a duster length. This one sold for $199. That is made in Italy. I'm not sure on the brand on that one. And then over on Poshmark, these granny squares are selling really big right now too. This little hoodie, that one sold for $50. Another poncho, that one sold for $59. Another cardigan, that one sold for $60. The next category of unusual items are graphic tees and tanks. And with these, you're really looking for what it says on it. This is actually a brand, it's Happy Bunny, and it's from Jim Benton. So you can use that in the keyword. A lot of titles do or have that in the title. That one sold for $35. Here's another one. It just simply says, "Don't rush me. I'm waiting for the last minute." There's the tag there. You can see it's nothing special. That one sold for $25. This is another no boundaries. I showed this a little bit earlier in the search results, but I wanted to pull this one out specifically because this says, nothing but brat on the front. It has some kind of Hawaiian flowers there. That one sold for $88 from that No Boundaries brand. Got one from Aerie here from, American Eagle's line. And this one, it just says "going off the rails." It is a long sleeve. That one sold for $25. A cap sleeve tee over on Poshmark. This is from Pink. That one sold for $36. You can see there's quite a bit of wear on that. And then another one on Poshmark that sold here, it just says Superstar. Ignore this American Vintage. It's actually a brand. The tag there says Tipsy. And let me see if I can zoom in on this. This has quite a bit of wear. You can see that's pulling there at the neck. And then here on the front, you can see there's some kind of pilling. There's even some breaking of that screen printing. That one sold for $35. The next type of item to be on the lookout for that's unusual, I did pull up a specific Poshmark seller that I'm highlighting here. And this seller is from the Portland area. Did go through all of their sold items, and there's some really unique items. I wanted to pull out some of these for you to be able to look at because it shows that you don't have to be dependent on specific brands. And some of these items, they do have, say Air Jordan, for example, they have a lot of good brands, but what I pulled out for you here to be able to look at are items that aren't, that sold for a decent amount of money, but aren't necessarily, a decent brand. This is Gildan. I'm never sure if I quite am saying that one right, but it had trees on it. This particular seller does do custom artwork with some of that bleaching as well as painting. That one sold for $35. Now, the moral of the story with these custom pieces is you may not be artsy yourself. I know I'm not the craftiest person, or I at least don't want to spend time and effort doing this kind of thing to items. But so many times when you're outsourcing, whether it's garage sales or thrift stores, especially at the bins, you're going to come across these items that somebody has attempted to do artwork on. And a lot of resellers do pass those over, but they can make a really unique item that a lot of people might be looking for online. This is another example, of a brand that you might not otherwise source. It's actually, Port and Company. If you have done any amount of sourcing, I know that you've come across this brand before. This one happens to be, it's called Phillips Trucking, and this seller did, do some custom paintwork on that, and then that one sold for $50. Here's another one, nothing too fancy with this one. It's more of just a lot of stains. This one's a Fruit of the Loom. It happens to be from a Shamrock Run in Portland from 1997. That one sold for $40. Another item here from that same seller on Poshmark. This is actually just a sweatshirt that says Alaska. Again, not any particular brand. There's the brand tag right there, but they did did do some of that custom bleaching. And again, you don't have to be crafty yourself. Just look for these types of unique items when you're out. That one sold for $65. Over on eBay, there's some similar types of, custom items that are being sold. This is a, men's shirt here. It's actually Old Navy, and that one sold for $25. You have another seller on eBay that is doing some really unique things with some patchwork. They are putting their, it's basically signature on these items, but a lot of these items, they're just, faded glory. They've had some modifications, some reworking. That's another good keyword to use. That one sold for $38. A few more of their items to be able to look at. You're seeing that bleaching as well as that patchwork. This is actually Arizona jeans. That one sold for $30. So people are looking for these unique items. This is another one of their items. This one actually does not even have a tag in it, but they did use some good keywords like login look as well as festival. That one sold for almost a little over $55. Another one of their items, that's a dress, and then this one sold for $76. Again, that does not have a brand on it. This is actually a pair of Gloria Vanderbilt. This is a different seller, but they show, how they make the item even, which is kind of interesting. Again, you don't have to make these, just look for these custom items when you're sourcing. Gloria Vanderbilt Amanda 16W is what that is. That one sold for $55 because it's a unique item. The next unusual type of item, and at least it was unusual to me as a new reseller, and I was going, okay, people buy used swimwear? Yes, it is a huge market. And so I pulled up one brand in particular. This is Miracle Suit, but there's lots of different brands that are selling, and these can go for some pretty good money. So that one sold for $50. Got another one here. That one sold for $65. Again, these are all in pre-owned condition. Another one here that sold for $60. Over on Poshmark, same kind of story. That one sold for $75. Got another Miracle Suit here for $68. So swimwear can be some really good money. There's another one there for $65. The next unusual item type that you may have not thought about before are belt buckles. And there's lots of different brands here that are selling for a decent amount of money with these buckles. You're going to see some, that are maybe only $5, but a lot of these can sell for into the hundreds of dollars, depending on the style, depending on what that is. And so a few items to be able to show you here. This one just says, easy does it, but do it. And that one sold for almost $50. Got another one here. It says Caterpillar turbines. Or turbines. That one sold for $135. Another belt buckle here. This is from a brand that's actually called Montana Silversmith. I'll see if I can get that stamp right there. And that is a really good brand. When it comes to these belt buckles, this one sold for $99. And then lastly, I've got some lace trim camis. Now, I know we looked at tank tops before, and a lot of what helps with those tank tops is actually what's called, baby doll fit. And that baby doll keyword's really trending right now, where it's fitted through the bust and then flares out. But there's lots of tank tops that don't have that fit, that are just, completely fitted, that are ribbed, all the way down. They don't have that baby doll shape, that are selling for a pretty good amount of money. This is at Abercrombie and Fitch. And that one's selling for $30. And it's pretty much all because of that lace trim. That one happens to have it around the top. Here's another one. This is from the brand Energy. Again, a very low dollar value brand, but that one sold for $30. Got another tank top here that has just that little bit of lace up at the top, Abercrombie and Fitch. That one sold for $38 for that. Here's a Hollister. It's got the lace around the top as well as that bottom, and that one sold for $30. Over on Poshmark, there's lots of these lace trim camis selling as well. This is from Moda International. I'm sure that you have seen this brand tag before. Nothing that I would recommend sourcing, but because of the style, that one sold for $35. And this is another brand that, that I would never probably recommend of saying, hey, just go and source this brand. It's Nicole Miller, but that one sold for $45 just because it happens to be a style that is trending and that people are looking for.
If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that profit isn't always obvious. It's not always about finding better items. It's about seeing more opportunity in the items that are already right in front of you. And once you start looking at clothing this way, you don't need better stores, you don't need better brands. You just start finding more every single time that you source. Now, if you want help turning this into consistent sales, again, check out the Empowered Reseller. It's linked below. And stick around for this next video where I cover all of the bolos when it comes to vintage clothes. Just click or tap the screen and I'll see you there.